Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 15 of Cute Little Love Letters, and this one is titled Saved by the Pinky. That's only if you want to, though. Oh, I mean, like, it doesn't even have to be romantic. Just, like, walking, you know? He fumbled, worried that his forwardness had just scared you off. You felt a heavy twitch in your left pinky finger, and so desperately wanted to clamp it down to your palm for a quick rescue from Kendo, but refrained heavily and took a deep breath in. You hummed. Sorry, don't reply to that. It's okay, Denki said quickly. Yeah, anyway, so do you do any, like, sports outside of school or hobbies or anything? What do your parents do? He asked, suddenly exploding with questions. You replied to his questions as best you could and found that it was a little easier to talk when the conversation wasn't focused on you per se. It's not like you couldn't talk, it was just someone so cute making passes at you that had you clamped up. What about you? Do you have any hobbies? What do you like? You asked him in return. Anything that's on trend, he replied with a smile. Gotta keep up, right? I guess, he replied with a small head tilt. I don't really know what on trend means. Oh, like cool stuff on Instagram or TikTok? If you punch in hashtag trending, heaps of stuff will come up. All the influencers push these and then everyone gets on it. Look, I'll show you, he said, taking his phone from his pocket. You got Insta, right? What about TikTok? I'll add you. I don't know what they are, you said sheepishly, looking at his phone as he held it across the table to you, the screen facing you and some girl on the screen doing a dance then pulling all kinds of faces. You don't know what they are? He asked patiently. I don't know anything that you said. Instagram, tick, trending, influencer? What is that? You asked shyly. He blinked at you, wondering if you were joking, but you obviously weren't, judging by your large eyes looking up into his. Oh, you don't know, he said after studying you for a second. Do you have a phone? You shook your head slowly. No, I've never needed one, you said with a head tilt. Oh, he said with surprise. Well, that's okay. Look, I'll show you my Insta page. I got a few followers, not a lot. Just waiting to go viral or something. Viral? You asked with surprise. Like viral disease? He replied with a small chuckle. No, like suddenly you become famous? Oh, he said with surprise, taking his phone when he handed it to you. You can swipe down, but don't touch any of the hearts because it'll look like I've liked my own stuff and that's lame as heck, he said with an embarrassed chuckle. This guy had a vocabulary all his own, and you blinked as you swiped down the pictures, looking at each one with interest. There were a few ones of him dancing or something, and even one of him using his quirk, but it cut out right before his quirk finished. You have an electrical quirk? You asked him. Yep, he said with a cool smirk, leaning back in his chair and half lidding his eyes. Name's Stungun Hero, Chargebot, or Chargebot for short, he added, making his voice sound super suave as he said it. That's a cool quirk, he said, looking up at him before looking back at his pictures. What's your quirk? He asked, and you froze, staring at his phone and trying to figure out a way to get out of answering the question. You knew if you told him what it was, it could give him a clue as to who it was that was putting notes in his locker. It's not interesting, you said dismissively, still avoiding eye contact. I bet it's cool, he said as he leaned forwards and rested his elbows on the table, giving you his full attention and waiting for you to reply. You hummed, still staring at his phone and panicking internally. Then you remembered your help signal and closed your pinky over to your palm under the table so that Denki couldn't see and waited with bated breath. Then, like an angel she was, Kendo came skipping over and crashed into the side of the table. Hey, you two, having fun? She asked brightly. Sorry to cut in like this, but Yin, we need to finish that class project and we only have lunchtime to do it. Sorry, could I steal you away, please? You nodded and stood up and then handed Denki back his phone. Thank you for showing me your pictures, he said with a polite bow. It's been nice talking to you. I'll see you again. And before Denki could say anything else, you had up and run off with Kendo. Oh my goodness, you saved me, you gasped to her as you ran down the hall together. What happened? She asked as you two ran. You look like you were having a good time. He asked me what my quirk was and I didn't want to tell him because he might put two and two together and work out that it's me putting notes in his locker, you said. You came up with the perfect out though. No worries, like I said, I'm here to help, she said with a grin. Denki sat there a little confused for a second, his mind reeling before he got up and grabbed his tray, but before he could move, someone jumped and grabbed him around his neck, hanging down his back. "That's so unfair! You get to have lunch with a hot girl!" the person wailed. "Dude, I think I'm dreaming or something. I can't believe that either," he replied, not seeing who it was behind him, but knowing it was his classmate Mineta. "But just as fast as she came into my day, she's left to do a class project or something." Denki sighed. "I'm going to come and sit with you guys." "Come over, tell us everything," Mineta said. "I want to know bust size, waist and hip size," he added, salivating as he still clung to Denki's neck. The blonde slowly ambled over to the rest of the table that had his friends Karishma, Bakugo and Sero sitting there giving him various looks. Well, you did it," Sero said with an amused smirk. "I heard from the boys that you've got an interest in her." "Yeah, man, she's super hot. And she's the sweetest little girl too," Denki said with a dreamy look in his eyes. "Good for you, man," Sero said with a light punch to Denki's arm as the blonde let Mineta off and then slid into the booth seat beside Sero. "You still didn't tell me her measurements," Mineta whined. "Is she an A cup, B cup, C? I need to know," he cried. "You're the worst, dude. Shut up," Sero said with disgust, flicking his tape quirk out and expertly wrapping it across Mineta's mouth. "What's a quirk?" Kiri asked from across the table to Denki. "I don't know, man. I went to ask her, and that's when Kendo came over and interrupted." "Idiot," Bakugo suddenly scoffed, sitting there with his arms crossed across his chest and his eyes closed. "She signalled that other extra to come over." "What?" "Huh?" Denki and Kiri both asked the spiky blonde. "Didn't you see her flick her pinky finger to her palm under the table?" he asked gruffly. "No," Denki replied. "My eyes are above the table." "I didn't even notice," Kiri said with surprise. "She doesn't want to answer your questions, dunce face," Bakugo replied with a scowl. "Why wouldn't she want to tell me?" Denki asked with slightly saddened look on his face. "Because you're a dunce, that's why," Bakugo retorted. "Bro, be nice," Kiri said to Bakugo, who just grunted and closed his mouth. "Maybe she's embarrassed about it," he then offered to the slightly saddened blonde. "Maybe," Denki said hopefully. "I wonder what it is." "Well, it's something fairy related, obviously, idiot," Bakugo said again. "Huh?" both Kiri and Denki said again with surprise. "How do you know?" Denki asked with surprise. "Her ear-shaped dunce. Don't you know anything?" Bakugo snapped. "Well, I know that your personality is a turd on fire, that's what I know," Denki said cheekily, having to duck and throw himself sideways out from the booth as Sero jumped up against the wall the other side to avoid a sudden explosive attack from Bakugo. "I'll kill you, dunce face!" Bakugo screamed, launching across the table to get to the cheeky blonde, while Kiri fought to hold him back and Mineta cried into the tape still strapped across his mouth. Thankfully, the rest of your lunchtime went without a hitch, and you even managed to get to your after-lunch classes without seeing Denki, which you were both sad but also relieved about. It was an odd feeling wanting to see someone but also not wanting to see them at the same time, so when it came time to go home, you were doubly relieved. When's it all going to come to a head? Stay tuned for chapter 16 coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.